Welcome to Hair of the Werewolf. I'm your host, Chase, and I'm here with my other co-host, Lily.
Hey, guys.
We are a paranormal and supernatural podcast where we sit around telling scary stories and having a few drinks in a pub-like atmosphere. I think this is episode 7, right?
Episode 7.
Episode 7. So we're not quite ready for the Christmas horror stories, but those are coming. Don't worry. Keep tuning in. We're going to get there.
The next one will definitely be Christmas.
Excellent.
Themed.
I mean, there's nothing like getting the Christmas spirit like horror. So
Exactly.
we're getting ready for that. But today, Lily's got a scary story for me to try to creep me out, and I've got a story to hit her back with. And spoiler, it's not about UFOs today. So if you were looking forward to that, don't be sad. The UFOs are coming back. This is just a special detour at the moment. So what are you drinking today, Lily?
I am having wine. I think it's a cab. Sauvignon?
Yeah.
Okay.
So fancy, this $2 Chuck. They couldn't even change the name to $3 Chuck, even though it is now, because it's like champagne.
Well,
You have to call it champagne if it's from the Champagne region.
I think
This is the Chuck.
I think this is the $2 Chuck because they say the price might have changed, but our $2 Chuck flavor hasn't.
The quality's the same.
I'm just kidding. It's actually good.
We're huge Trader Joe's
Yeah.
fans. I am drinking a Kolsch from Prost, one of the best breweries out of Denver. Love these guys. We picked up cans
So good.
little while back, and I was saving them for a good occasion, and this is a great one.
Yes, because it is episode 7.
Episode 7, like most important
Woo!
episode before 8 and after 6.
I mean, it really is the most important number
There's no other good
of
one.
that space.
Yeah, seriously. Episode 7.5 can
Cheers.
suck it.
Suck it, episode 5. That was a bigger gulp of wine than I anticipated. Okay.
Well, I'm excited. As long as it doesn't have dogs jumping off bridges, I'm probably sold.
It does not have any animals whatsoever.
Perfect. That's the way
Yes.
it should be, because we love animals, and let's deal with the horror of humanity.
Yeah, let's just deal with ourselves here.
We suck. Do it.
Yeah, this one has a very folklore kind of quality.
Perfect.
Okay, so my story for today is called The Boo Hag.
The Boo Hag?
The Boo Hag. Like BOO hag.
Sounds kind of sexy.
Is that? It's
You know
definitely
what I mean?
not
Kind of
sexy.
like a homeless cat lady sort of way. I'm
Whoa,
like,
what the? I don't even want to know your fetishes anymore. Get out of here. So, anyway, the one I'm going to be talking about, the Boo Hag, is actually African folklore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, the interpretation of the Boo Hag, it's actually
I
stems...
just-
What? You can't get over the name, can you?
The Boo Hag.
The Boo Hag.
Oh, man, that just... You know, it almost actually sounds like some crazy dance on the floor. Like, do the Dougie and then the Boo Hag. And I'm just imagining it's like something to do with boobs, like bouncing
What's
to a
that
rhythm.
Boob Hag. It's the boo.
Yeah, but that B, by the time you hear boo, my brain already finishes it as boob. You don't have to have the B at the end.
You know, when I picked this out, I really wasn't having in mind what the 12-year-old boy brain was going to interpret when I had this.
Well, now you know.
Lesson learned. I should have known better.
So tell me about the booby hag.
Okay, well, the boob hag is actually... So, as we all know, just the term itself, hag, is derived from many parts, but obviously Old English, which is a word I can't say. Haggard...
Give it a shot. College try.
College try. Hagatess or Hagtessie? Tesse?
You gotta wonder if that was in Beowulf, because that was in Old English too.
That is probably where, yes, I agree. I think if it was ever in anything, it'd probably be in that. Yeah, it's got one of those, it's where the A and the E are combined.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Are you actually looking it up right now?
I don't want to sound like I don't know what I'm talking about, even though I obviously don't. It is supposed to just be the A sound, as in like cat.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. And I love that in the description they use the word diphthong. Love that word.
The hell's a diphthong?
This is apparently one of them. So a diphthong is a double sound.
Oh! It doesn't have a TH. Let me see. Okay, so in Spanish, it doesn't have the H.
Oh, is it diphthong?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, it's actually it's diptongo.
Oh, nice.
And so, but like
It sounds so exotic.
Oh, wow. Excuse me. Okay. So here we go. Where were we? Oh, the definition of the hag. We aren't even in the story yet.
I needed to know, because I remember when you told me about the Boo Hag, my first thought was, what's a hag?
I didn't even get to the definition yet. We're still stuck on the word, damn it.
You need to know about the hag.
Okay, here's the hag. The hag is typically known as an evil-looking woman, described as being a witch, evil spirit, or even a demon. There are many interpretations of the Boo Hag that stem from different regions in Africa, as it is. However, this story that I will be telling, where the Boo Hag that I'm talking about will be from South Carolina, from the Gullah culture.
So not the African stuff.
So it's hard to say, because it's not like saying it's not African, because it totally is. And the reason for that is, unfortunately for that reason, is because of the slave trade.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, this makes a lot more sense. I don't know why my mind didn't go there. Okay.
Yeah. So the Gullah culture was actually a combination of multiple cultures that are from the western region of Africa.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. Like Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone. I'm trying to think of other ones. But anyway, that melded together in the United States. And I say melded as in forced,
Yeah, they were
right?
forced together.
I mean,
the stories have to just meld and become,
people adapt.
Make friends with your friends. Like, I mean, these people were forced together.
It's your common man. You know, it's something that you have to, in this particular instance, which is very interesting because it's one of the reasons why the African culture heritage has lasted for hundreds of years. They were able to preserve that culture.
Keep it going.
With each other, despite their differences, you know, where they may have came from.
Absolutely.
But luckily for us, they also brought in some paranormal, scary stories.
So I'm totally just picturing, like, they're like, you know, when you talk about combining cuisines, or you talk about combining, like, cool celebratory things like awesome dances or songs or anything, but then all of a sudden they're like, with our horror stories combined, we create mega horror story.
Love that we went there. Oh, Lord. Yes.
Sweet.
We have mega story. We have the Boo Hag now.
The mega Boo Hag.
The mega Boo Hag.
Not just the pathetic small little Boo Hag known in small cultures. This is the combined
right. This isn't your regular hag, people. This is the Boo Hag.
The Boo Hag.
Get ready. So yes. Okay, so let's talk about the Boo Hag herself. It's important to note that the Gullah culture believes that people have both a soul and a spirit.
They're separate.
They're separate.
All right.
Now, the soul, when you die, the soul leaves your body and goes to the heavens or wherever it is it needs to go. And then the spirit will always stay behind. And if, let's say, you're a good...
So it's like a permanent trace.
A permanent what?
Trace. Like...
Trace, sort of. So, like, if you were a good person, you would be a good spirit. And you would always be there to guide and help and protect your family. Kind of like a guardian angel, I guess.
Sure.
And however, if you were...
It's like the Mufasa in the sky.
You can be Mufasa in the sky, yes.
Sweet.
Sorry, I just realized how stupid that was. I don't know. I was focused. So if you were a bad person, you could turn in to a Boo Hag.
Oh, so it's like Boo Hag's not a specific person. A Boo Hag's kind of like
an evil spirit.
But it's like a role.
It's kind of like something that either you may have chosen. There's different reasons why one could become a Boo Hag. And when I say person, they basically mean woman. So it doesn't seem like a man can become a Boo Hag. Only a woman who is apparently can become hideous.
Wait, you mean to tell me a horror story that's hundreds of years old is gendered?
It's very gendered.
It's gender biased.
And only a woman can become this
Boo Hag
nastiness that I'm about to tell you. Okay. So anyway, her description is that she emits a sulfur-like smell.
Oh, bad smells. That's a good one.
It's a very demonic kind of mentality. And it emits localized humid atmosphere.
Humid? Like wet?
Humid. Yeah. So like You know how some ghosts, they say, oh, if there's a ghost, there's like a cold spot, all these things.
I'm just imagine like someone just like walking back into their village like, man, I'm feeling all sweaty and stanky. Must have got a case of the Boo Hag.
Stupid Boo Hag. Away, beast. Okay, so that's just one, I guess, hint if she's in the area.
Stanky.
But here's the thing. They're in South Carolina, so you're just like...
It's already wet there.
I'm like, am I the Boo Hag? Because I would definitely become one, apparently. So anyway, the spirit, or rather Boo Hag, can actually have different states of appearances. So the first one, during the day, she has her own form. Some believe that she has this kind of hag quality that we all kind of think about. Like, she'll be like this disgusting kind of old, nasty woman. I don't know. And then other people believe that she can manifest into a very beautiful woman. So that way, right, so she can lure people and kind of manipulate them that way.
But is she still humid?
She could probably. You know, I don't really know.
It's one dank-ass Boo Hag.
That is nasty. And then there's her other form, which is the one that she has at night. So as the night approaches, she takes off her skin.
Oh.
And that's how she hunts.
Ew.
It's really gross.
That's really gross.
So her description is actually, you know, this blood red, spongy exterior with pulsing and bulging blue veins all throughout her body. And she kind of crawls everywhere, you know, just real cute. And then the third, your face.
Wait. We can't. You can't just jump into the third. We need to focus on this for a second.
Well, it will come up again. I'm just kind of giving you this premise of like, you know, when I tell you the encounters, you have a better understanding of what this creature looks like.
So if they're dealing with, you know, fleshy Boo Hag, or if they're dealing with hot, foxy, wet Boo Hag,
or
just stanky, dank
or
Boo
this
Hag,
other,
or
right?
This one.
So the other one is that she actually wears the skin of her victims too.
Oh, more skin.
More skin. This is a very skin-heavy episode, I guess. This is
this episode brought to you by Chicharrones.
They're so good. Why you gotta be like that?
Take a bite, crunch. Mighty fine Boo Hag.
That's how you actually defeat a Boo Hag.
Fry it and eat it.
You ask a Mexican to cook it. Okay. So so she wears the victim's skin. So she's able to manipulate it in some form so she can wear it herself. And this allows her to more easily walk among the living, like during the day. So this is more assuming that she isn't this beautiful creature, you know, during the day on her own skin. So she's actually the grosser, older version. She might want to steal someone's skin.
Absolutely.
However, this only lasts for one day because by the next night, it sheds off and she can't use it again. She can only use her own again, but not someone else's. Okay, so now to the encounters. Now, the Boo Hag only appears at night to other people when it's hunting.
Okay.
She can sneak into your house through the smallest cracks.
Are you sure she's not like a roach?
Ew. Well, she's probably slightly grosser.
She's like a roach on Central. Can get through any crack you have.
Yep. Sometimes the hag will remain out of your vision. Other times she may allow you to see a dark figure in the corner to kind of scare you a little bit. That's how she kind of feeds off of you. If you are unaware of her presence, then she will remain in your room for the entire night, feeding and stealing your energy, your breath is how they describe it.
So she can still be taken from you even if you don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes it a little creepier to me.
Exactly.
Because that means that all the people who are like, I've never seen the Boo Hag, I don't believe you. It's like, but you still could be a victim. That's kind of cool.
Right.
It's kind of interesting.
And then just before dawn, she will crawl out of your room and return to her own skin, which, by the way, if she doesn't get back to her own skin or steal your skin, if she's not in some sort of skin before the sun comes out, she dies. Like, she'll be destroyed.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the worst is when the Boo Hag decides to make herself known. She'll sit on top of your body and then put her face right in front of yours and stare into your eyes, and she won't look away. A common phrase to use when going to sleep is, "Don't let the boo hag ride ya." I'm like, okay. That sounds terrifying. If someone said that to me, I'm like, hold on, you can't just leave me with that phrase. What are you talking about?
All we have is little bed bugs that can bite you, but they have a whole like creature that's gonna sit on you and stare into your face. That's terrifying.
Who's gonna sit on me? What? So another one is, this is where a lot of people believe sleep paralysis is actually just the boo hag.
You're getting riding dirty.
Yes, dirty, and you can't breathe. So if that's your thing.
Sleep paralysis is the boo hag. That's interesting.
Yes, it is. This experience would obviously terrify anyone. So here we are. But the boo hag also kind of has this ability to paralyze you. Again, that whole sleep paralysis theory. And even further, can cause overwhelming and confusion and just absolute dread. So it makes it very difficult for you to escape. But if you somehow, for whatever reason, manage to release yourself from her spell and attempt to fight back, then the boo hag will steal your skin. So she doesn't always want to do it. Like, it doesn't seem like something that she does every time. But if you give her some grief or trouble, you will be skinned alive. Just saying.
Just cause.
Yeah, no. So now there have been survivors.
Of the skinning?
Of the... Jeez. No, of the boo hag. Just escaped.
That was horrifying to think about.
Could you imagine? Holy. I actually rather not. But...
Yeah, I was like, I'm trying to keep my brain from going that direction.
So people have escaped the boo hag, not even become a victim.
Just the riding.
He escaped. I'm assuming it's always a he because I don't know.
It's like, hey babe, this has been nice, but I gotta go to work tomorrow, so peace.
Ooh, I gotta work tomorrow. You gotta get dressed.
I got a meeting.
You gotta put on your skin.
I got a meeting that requires my skin.
Oh Lord. So people, again, when they report touching the boo hag, they say that you're overcome with dread and absolutely revolted because they say that her skin feels warm like raw meat, and it's very difficult to fight back because it's so wet and spongy. Just rereading it again, I'm like, oh God. Okay. There are ways to protect yourself, though. As mentioned, the hag can crawl through a narrow crack or a window. It seems like it's basically almost impossible to keep her out. However, you can use these following tricks, I guess. The first one is, people say that the boo hag despises the smell of gunpowder. This would have been more convenient.
That's a weird one, isn't it?
It is a little weird. I'm not really sure.
That has to be a really common one, because if you said this originated with those various cultures from before the slave trade, I mean, guns wouldn't have been that super common in those regions. So that theory has to be way more recent. That has to have been something that formed in the United States.
It absolutely did. And again, because of the Gullah culture, I think all these kind of reasonings started surfacing because of that entire environment. And that's great. But nowadays, who has gunpowder? So not really an option these days, I think. I mean, I guess I can make some.
You can make some. It's just a couple chemicals put together. I remember a couple 4th of July, not a couple, I mean, this would have been like 15 4th of Julys ago, or
the other day,
maybe even 20. I think I was a teenager at the time. We found my dad's old chemistry kit in the garage, and we pulled out the stuff and tried to make some homemade fireworks, which is essentially gunpowder and a few other stuff to make the fire kind of with a color. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we made like a homemade firework that just burned in a little paper thing. It was pretty fun. It wasn't that hard.
So gunpowder. You can make some. If you think a boo hag's around, just go ahead and
make use some of that.
Get online, find yourself a recipe. The other one is a broom.
Like hitting it with a broom, or like the presence of a broom?
Shoo. No. It's a broom, and that boo hags are apparently very compulsive creatures, and they have a weakness for counting. So if you have a broom out, and
my God, are you serious? They're OCD.
Yeah, and if you have the broom out, she will be compelled to literally like count every single straw, And that would preoccupy her long enough for her to not have enough time to steal your energy. Does that make sense? Before the dawn.
Yeah.
So that the idea is that you kind of keep her busy, and then she's
her.
like, "Oh no, it's time for me to get out of here."
It's like a laser pointer with a cat.
Basically,
Only.
you're just kind of distracting her. You're not really solving the problem, but you are basically like preventing her from.
So the Boo Hag
attacking.
literally stops to count every strand
Yes.
in the broom.
Apparently, yes.
Man, Boo Hag's got problems.
She has some issues for sure. If
like
it wasn't the skin, I mean, this is a line here.
She's like Moss in the IT crowd who stole the money just so he could count it. He had no interest in the money, just needed to count how much was there.
Oh my god, it was an amazing episode. Let's see. Oh yeah, so again, that's cool. And most people I think do have brooms. I mean, we have a broom. I mean, I don't know if it has as many bristles, but we also have a Swiffer, because what if you only own a Swiffer? Then you're totally screwed.
You just count one, and then she kills you. Well, and our broom, let's be honest, all the dust has formed on it. A lot of those bristles have melded into singular bristles. There's not much counting to do.
I don't know. That's just one
It's kind of
giant
like
bristle.
it's just like hitting a stick on the ground. That's what we're doing these days.
Maybe the Boo Hag will clean it for us, and then she'll count it.
The Boo Hag literally has to stop to count. It's like the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
It is pretty silly.
It's about as silly as vampires can't come in unless you invite them in. That one always stood out as being like, seriously?
Oh, yes. Okay, so the other one is blue paint. There is a specific shade of blue that is known as the Boo Hag blue, or haint paint. Haint paint blue. That you need to paint all around every single window, door, fireplace, basically anything that leads to the outside. I gotta say, when I looked up the color, it was really fucking cute. Like,
it's a you color.
It's a me blue. I mean, I think it's a very popular color, so it's not, oh my god, I just totally like my soul. It's just such a cute color, and I'm like, oh no, I have to paint everything this color. What am I gonna do?
So now you like go to the car dealership. It's like, I need a new car. Yeah, what color? Boo Hag blue.
I'm actually going to refer that now just Boo Hag blue, because it is such an amazing color, and a funny name. Anyway, so the other defense is salt. Since her physical form...
That's a common one we hear.
It is. It's a very common one. Her physical form has no skin when she hunts, so then adding salt could cause her great discomfort and make her run away. Some believe that she may even start to boil and begin to deteriorate.
Oh, like a snail?
Oh my god, yeah, like a snail. I didn't think of it that way.
Ew.
Ew, and she is slimy too, so that's nasty. It's also theorized that when she returns to her own skin, then it makes it almost impossible for her to put it on.
After the salt, you mean? Yeah.
After the salt,
Okay.
It has been applied.
And so she could die.
And so she can die completely. So this is actually the ultimate defense, in my opinion. Because it's kind of like fighting back, too. The other one is that if you ever happen to be hunting a Boo Hag, I'm trying to think of a situation where this would occur, but if you ever find her skin, pour some salt on that skin, and then she will definitely not be able to put it back on, and she'll die. Now, just make sure that you're not around, because then she'll just take your skin.
She always has an out, doesn't she?
She always has an out. See, this crazy bitch. Okay. So despite these tips, over time the Boo Hag has kind of wised up to it, and she's found ways to kind of bypass them. With one of them, for example, like the counting, she can cast a spell and make herself count really quickly.
Okay.
Another one is that the Boo Hag now has kind of a natural aversion to salt. She can sense it. So if you're someone there with a vial of salt and you're like, oh wait,
it's hard to sneak up on her when you.
It's hard to sneak up.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of have to be more tactful or whatever. If you ever
got a sneak attack salting coming.
You kind of do. Sneak attack. Sneak attack.
A sneak wow, we just discovered a new tongue sneak salting. Whew, that was hard to say.
Sneak salt.
A sneak salt.
A sneak assault.
A sneak salt assault.
A sneak salt assault. Nope, I can't do it. So that, my friend, is the story. It's actually a short one, but I thought it was really fun.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to start telling everyone about the Boo Boo Kachoo.
The Boo Boo Kachoo.
The Boo Hag.
The Boo Hag. Yeah.
So I learned about the skin swapping, salt hating, apparently only evil woman spirit, the Boo Hag.
The Boo Hag. And that's just one iteration.
So if this did it when you were reading about that culture and they talk about the Boo Hag, which is obviously what it sounds like some bad women could become a Boo Hag. Mm-hmm. Did they talk about what could happen to the bad guys? Like, what would they become?
No, I didn't really delve into that. It doesn't seem like there's as much information as far as, like, with this folklore or anything like that.
Typical. Blaming it all on the women.
Yeah, I mean, there's, like, this one... I actually watched this PBS storytelling thing of the Boo Hag, and it was this woman, and she was literally telling the story in front of... some kids that they look like they were maybe 10 or 11 years old or whatever. Anyway, so I'm like sitting there like a child and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's going to talk about the Boo Hag. And I'm
You're
like,
all excited.
And I was really wondering how detailed or how grotesque she was going to get. She got pretty, I mean, she talked about how she takes off her skin and how her body is wet. And I'm like, but she never really said blood, but we all know what's going on here. Anyway, she did an amazing job. I actually highly recommend going to PBS website. They have like this Stories Around the World, I think it's called. They also do like La Llorona, and these are kind of for kids. But do you remember when you were a child and someone was just an amazing theatrical storyteller? That's what it felt like PBS style. I don't know. It was awesome.
This is like the first PBS thing you've seen in a long time, too.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if I have. I think I have seen some things on YouTube, but specifically going to PBS and being like, no, I don't think so. I've seen some documentaries recently that I know aired on PBS, but...
Well, maybe we could post a link to this on our Twitter. Maybe we can try to get some followers over there.
Some child followers, and they're like, what is this?
I don't think we need children following our
podcast.
Well,
what I mean is like the PBS thing was kind of more like kid-like. It was very fun for me. I don't know what that says about me, but it was really fun.
It'll be fun for all of us.
I think it'll be fun for everyone. It kind of reminded me, it really brought me back. It was such like hardcore nostalgia of just the style of PBS and everything. I'm like, oh my God, I love this.
So out of curiosity, would the Boo Hag Blue be anything close to the shirt that you're wearing right now?
Oh, hey. No, this is a little darker. This is more...
Boo Hag Blue's darker or your shirt's darker?
My shirt is darker.
Oh, okay. So it's a pretty light blue. Would it be closer to a turquoise vibrant blue, or is it more of a sky blue?
It's a little bit more sky, but it's got some vibrantness to it. It's not pale. Well, some versions are kind of pale, but they tend to be very vibrant.
Interesting, but maybe
not very pastel.
Maybe cyan.
I'm really bad with like certain color names, so I'm not sure. Yeah.
Well, you're gonna have to show me. I just need to know.
Oh, I will, because I'll probably end up painting something in that color now.
Because now you're convinced of the
now that I know. Well, it'll be like a table, so I guess the Boo Hag can't touch out the table. But, maybe if we own a house someday, I'll paint the windows.
So let this be a lesson to all of you. If you're feeling wet and stinky, take a shower. And if it's still there, it's probably the Boo Hag.
You might as well shed that skin and go hunting. Have some fun.
Get that dandruff off.
What is it? Oh, yeah. So, again, this is one version. I certainly don't want to offend anyone and be like, that's not the story I've heard or something like that. Because there is, like I said, the one in PBS is slightly different. Like, the Boo Hag herself, she gets married and she is relatively normal person during the day. But then at night, she sneaks out and is the Boo Hag. And eventually, the whole village kind of gets sick. Specifically, the men. So she attacks men only. From what I was reading from this version of it, it's not just men, and it can be children as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it really depends. Who's telling the story? And now the Gullah culture is more heavily in South Carolina from where it came from, but it's now spread to like Georgia and North Carolina and the surrounding regions and whatnot. So they actually have their kind of version of the Boo Hag as well.
Man, I wonder if they have like... So it's kind of like those areas that are famous for either the Mothman or like Bigfoot, how they'll have like restaurants or areas where they'll have like Mothman statues or Bigfoot statues. There has to be a Boo Hag statue somewhere. Like a restaurant that's like Boo Hag barbecue. Something cool like that.
But like she's so gross.
Well, you're not eating the Boo Hag. She's just making you the Boo Hag.
Skinless and what?
Stinky.
Yeah. I don't know if Boo Hag Barbecue is the right choice to go, but who knows?
If it doesn't exist, we need to register that trademark.
Oh, nope.
Boo Hag Barbecue.
Boo Hag Barbecue, y'all. Okay. Well, again, that was my story.
All right. Well, it was definitely one of the most colorful and wet of the stories you've told me so far. So speaking of wet, we need to refresh our drinks.
Yes.
So let's take a quick break, get some drinks, and then we'll come back because I got a story waiting for you.
Woo! I'm excited. Let's do this.
I've seen a few. While we are refreshing our drinks, it's a good time to tell you about this episode's sponsor. This week we are brought to you by Woody's Hoodies 505, a brand new independent clothing company right here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Founder George Woods has created designs that celebrate the most iconic landmarks and cultural icons of life in the 505, such as the historic Chemo Theater, the tramway bridges, lowriders, and my personal favorite, the giant red arrow on Carlisle. They are currently available in t-shirts and hoodies for both men and women. Make sure to check out his designs at his web store, woodyshoodies505.com. That's WOODYSHOODIES 505.com. And follow his Instagram at woodyshoodies505.
All right, guys, we are back, and I am here with more wine, fresh wine. And you are drinking still the Prost.
I'm still on the beer.
Still on the beer. That's okay.
No wine for me today.
Awesome. So, tell me a story.
All right, so it's my turn, I guess. And now most of you who've been listening to us, this is when I jump in with my UFO stories, but not today. I'm going to shake it up a little bit today. Today, we're sticking straight to the Earth. In fact, we're going into some of the most remote areas on Earth. Tropical islands.
Yay!
And I don't mean like the huge areas like New Zealand or whatnot where there's a million people. I don't know if New Zealand's even tropical, but I mean like small, remote islands. So get ready for tropical terror.
I like this new flavor. Okay, let's do this.
We should record that and then put it in those talk boxes for Halloween and sell them at Spirit for like $800 a piece. People will buy it.
Oh man, yours is too good. It has to be at least $900.
So today's story is the Beachy ghosts of Ofu, and I'm going to just preface this right now. There's a lot of new words here that I wasn't familiar with, and I'm going to do my best to pronounce them. But even through long searches for how I'm supposed to pronounce a lot of these words, I couldn't even find anything. All the YouTube videos about these areas had no narration. They were all just like beautiful videos of beaches and stuff. Never people talking about how you pronounce it. So I'm going to do my best. All right. So this takes place in American Samoa, which comprises about 5 big islands and a couple atolls. And if you guys don't know where American Samoa is, it's in the South Pacific area, which is essentially the middle of nowhere, northeast of Australia and New Zealand. I mean, and it's far from all of those. I mean, if you look at your average map at the distance we normally do when we're viewing like Europe and the US, you don't even see these islands because they're so small. They just disappear. So one section of islands of American Samoa is known as the Manua Islands, which is a cluster of smaller islands. Like I think there's 4 islands there. This particular story takes place on the island of Ofu. It's a very, very small island. So let me explain the geography to you guys so you kind of can picture in your mind what we're looking at, because I think that's pretty important. So there are 2 islands, the larger of these 2, that are right next to each other. They're Ofu and Olosega. They are only 137 meters apart.
Wow.
Which means they almost touch at the narrowest sections of both islands. And people back in the day, they would wade between these 2 islands at low tide. I mean, it's just easy to get between them 2. But since the 70s, this story takes place long before the 70s, but in the 70s, they actually just built a road bridge that crosses the 2 because it's just super easy.
What is this swimming nonsense?
Yeah. The most populous area of Ofu, so Ofu is the west island and Olosega is the east island. The most populous area of Ofu is on the opposite side of the island from where they touch. And on Olosega, it's on the closest side where they touch. The combined landmass of both of these islands is only 5 square miles.
Wow.
You could walk around all of this in no time.
It's so small, I still wouldn't walk it.
And apparently these people don't much either. I'm not joking when I say this, because when I Google mapped in there, there's a lot of cars and roads, and there's no people. So,
oh, really?
Oh, man. So the population for both of these islands is only about roughly 500. And it looks like it might not even be that. And the reason I'm saying is if you look at these satellite views and you get really close, there just aren't that many houses and there aren't that many buildings. And one of the YouTube videos I looked at, she said that they have more houses than people and they do not have 500 houses. They don't even look like they have 100 houses.
Weird.
So when I say there aren't many people here, there aren't many people here. And most of the island you can't actually live on. You can only live on the coast because it's a giant mountain that comes out of the ocean and it's mostly covered in forest, so you can't live on most of it.
So is it like an inactive volcanic?
It is, as far as I know, there's no lava going on. Not at the moment. So now that we've got the geography, imagine these two tiny islands and they almost touch in these two narrow points, and where the people live are pretty far from each other, and where they touch is kind of in the middle. So let's get to the creepy stuff. In 1923, the Public Health Department of American Samoa decided to build a medical pharmacy. The story referred to it as a dispensary, which I think is kind of just an old, antiquated term. Nowadays, dispensary means something a little different in America.
Ooh, scandalous.
But at the time, it was totally it was for medical help and everything.
Sure.
So they decided they were going to put the building in an area called Toaga, which is an area on the southeastern beach of Ofu. So like I said, these two islands, their narrow ends pointed towards each other and almost touched. So this was on a narrow end of Ofu, which is very far from the settlement of Ofu and the settlement on Olosega. I mean, as far as you can be on a 5 square mile islands.
Yeah.
But no one lives in this area at all. It's a very long and beautiful beach. So they decided they were going to put it there because it was close to where the two islands met, and it was about halfway between the two villages, so that both villages could get equally easy to access areas. But as soon as they decided this, the people on both islands immediately protested. They were furious.
For the pharmacy?
From where they wanted to put it. They wanted a pharmacy.
Oh, so they wanted one probably closer to their own village.
Nope. Not at all.
Further away?
Nope. It has nothing to do with that.
Okay, I'm out of space.
See this beach, this gorgeous beach, and I know you people can't see it at home, but I think I'm gonna have a similar picture on our social media. I'm showing her what the beach looks like. There's the bottom picture.
Ooh.
It is gorgeous tropical beach. I mean, this is where people spend...
This looks like the paradise.
Right,
like,
thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars to just stay there for a weekend with crystal clear water, beautiful green everywhere, and there's nobody there.
Let's just go there.
But there's nobody there for a reason.
Let's go there anyway.
All right. So this beach, this beautiful beach, is believed to be haunted by the people of both islands. This beach.
Okay.
They believe that, according to an article I read on The Lonely Planet, devilish Aitu reside in the forest area right up against the beach. And Aitu is spirits and ghosts, according to Samoan.
Is that the translation, or is it just the name that... I mean, like, as in...
That's the name they use to refer to them.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna delve right into Aitu, because apparently it's not limited to just Samoan culture. This is something around all Polynesian cultures. So it goes down all the way to New Zealand with the Maori, and apparently even exists as far up as Hawaii. So there's a lot of... And there's variations on what it means. So
how do you spell it? Just
Aitu. Aitu.
Oh, man. That's so not how I spelled it in my head.
So... It is common in both Samoan culture and other Polynesian cultures. They mean slightly different things depending on which area you are talking about, however. The Tonga consider them lesser gods, and the people of the Cook Islands use Aitu to refer to ancient tribes. In Maori mythology, Aitu means demons and can sometimes be used to refer to illnesses, sicknesses. But in Samoa, they are ghosts. And they are a common and respected aspect of Samoan culture. This is not like something only a few people have heard of. This is ingrained and is a very well-known part of Samoan culture. It is taken very seriously. Supernatural, upsetting, and terrifying experiences are often associated with the Aitu in Samoan culture. They are often considered malevolent.
Awesome.
So they're angry. All right, so the people of these islands warn the employers never to go to Toaga area at night or at high noon, like the middle of the day. How weird is that? Usually we're used to scary stuff being at night.
Oh, yeah.
But this is one of those weird things. They don't go in the middle of the day. Like high noon's a bad time.
Hey, is it like have anything to do of where the sun would be centered? Because the high noon would be like above, and if it's in the middle of the night, it would be just below.
So that's actually an amazing question. And as much research as I tried to do on this, it is not that covered. It's really weird.
Okay.
So I don't actually know. But this particular area of the beach is believed that they're not just Aitu there. They are very dangerous Aitu that live there. So it's so another part, not to get too far into geography again, here. All right, so I've shown Lily some pictures so she can help make sure I'm explaining this well to you guys. So this very long beach, which takes up a significant portion of this island, they believe that the forested area that goes up against the beach is completely haunted. Yet they've also established a road just inland from the beach. So it's this small strip of forest that is probably...
So the way I described it, because I'm looking at the picture just to make sure. So there's water, beach, a strip of the forest. Thick forest. And then a road. And then the rest of the forest.
Going up the mountain, yeah.
Right, okay.
And this is very thick forest, and I would say that the forest thickness between the road and the beach would be like a wide American highway. Maybe.
Okay.
That is where these spirits are believed to be. It seems so weird.
On the small strip, like between the road and the beach.
The small strip. And that's why it's so weird to me, because you're like, wow, this is such a small area, but the island's really small too. And it's so gobsmacking to think that this whole island, they picked such a massive area of it. I know they didn't pick it, but there's a whole area of it that they think is haunted. I mean, how terrible is that to lose so much of your landmass because you're scared this area is haunted?
So what if, in theory, like I park my car on the road and then run my ass off to the beach? Would I still be haunted at the beach, or is it just while I'm running?
I don't know, but the one thing I can tell you with how thick that forest strip is, you can't run through that.
Oh, okay, so it's that bad.
It's really thick. You can't even see through it. So if you Google Map drop on the road, you can't even see the water.
Oh, wow.
It's pure
That's
thick.
cool.
Which is pretty amazing. It's creepy jungle. I mean, we're talking looks like a jungle. Like it's crazy, but it's not that thick. You'd have to keep telling yourself, I can get through this. And you will in like 10 seconds, but it doesn't look like it.
It does not seem like you could, really.
So getting back to where they wanted to set up this medical dispensary, the people of the islands were warning these people wanting to build it, don't go into this area at night or at high noon. Dangerous spirits are there. Well, the dispensary was built anyway. Big surprise. They're
Surprise!
Like, I don't care, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
This was built around 1923. I don't have a specific date for it, but I'm assuming, probably late 1923 because of what follows. After they built it, people of the island refused to visit it because it was in such a bad area.
Man.
I mean, when you
the whole purpose of it.
Yeah, when you won't go get medical help because you're like, no, it's in a haunted part of the island. They really believe this. This is a big deal to them.
So it's not like us where we won't go because we'll be in debt.
Exactly. Yeah, money ain't no thing.
The bank account will haunt me.
So it wasn't long after the dispensary was built that some weird shit started to actually happen.
Of course.
So in 1924, one of the pharmacist's friends, and they did describe...
What was the date? I'm sorry, I was like thinking...
It's in 1924.
1924.
Which is why I assume it was built in late 23, because this dispensary wasn't supposed to be, this wasn't much long after it was built. So in 1924, one of the pharmacist's friends, and the original story said pharmacist's friends, but he was working at the pharmacy. So I figured that would make him a pharmacist, but they were very specific to say they said pharmacist's mate.
Mate.
Yeah,
okay.
They said the pharmacist's mate was who was working heard a knocking on the door, but whenever he answered, no one was there. The knocking persisted for many nights for quite a while. So my first reaction is, it's probably pranks. It's probably like kids in the area or people who are mad that the pharmacy is there trying to piss them off.
Trying to scare them away.
Makes total sense. Like if it keeps happening, like, oh yeah, they're knocking and hiding, ding dong ditching like something fierce. Island ding dong ditch. Anyway, but then one day it stopped being a prank because he opened the door and he saw an apparition of a decapitated man standing there.
Ew.
Yeah, I wish he got into more detail. I didn't know if he just stood there and stared at it, or if it walked away, or if it slowly
Well, they
faded away.
couldn't lock eyes, so he was just standing there.
Yeah, exactly. You have no idea if he's staring you down or not.
Yeah.
But apparently he saw a decapitated man. So he's pretty upset. Well, the following day, the pharmacist's wife this time, she was allegedly harassed by unseen people who went noisily through her house and disrupted her furniture. And this happened in broad daylight. Now, once again, I wanted more information. The thing is, was her furniture moving and she couldn't see the people? Like, by unseen, do they mean ghosts? Or did she hear it happening when she went into the room? She saw things, were distraught. Once again, I couldn't find more specific information if they were trying to say someone invisible was moving stuff and she didn't hear them. Or if she just heard them when she went in there, stuff was asunder, but she had no idea why. But, once again, this would suggest that it's either ghosts or people trying to piss off the pharmacist for setting up this stuff there.
Yeah.
Well, it kept getting weirder because a short while later, the pharmacist's friend and wife, the pharmacist's friend and the pharmacist's wife, along with some nurses, went to the large settlement on the west end of Ofu. So they, continued down the beach and went up to there. After they had been in town for a while, the high chief offered to give the pharmacist's friend and pharmacist's wife a ride back to Tawaga in his boat. And I'm assuming...
So he won't be like, I'm not stepping on this.
I think that might have been his reason. He's like, I'll be on a boat. I'll be in the water. I'll be okay. But I'm going to bring him back on the boat. And those nurses that had accompanied them, they were going to stay in the village and they were going to come back the next day on foot. And, when you're talking 5 square miles, that's nothing. That's not too bad.
No. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, no.
Yeah. So this takes place late at night. And when they reached the beach, they allegedly witnessed a Siva taking place.
A Siva?
Yeah, so I had the same question you did. So assuming I'm pronouncing it correctly, a Siva is a Samoan dance ritual. It's apparently it's beautiful. I kind of saw a video of one. They look amazing. They look great. But it's not a small thing. It's not like one guy just dancing by himself. Like it's usually there's like a fire involved and there's multiple people. It's kind of a big to-do.
Does it look more ritualistic or celebratory? Or
I would say ritualistic from the video I saw.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, only this wasn't a normal Siva, as the people dancing were headless.
No! Damn it.
And not only
that, these heads?
The headless people were being led by the very nurses they had just left behind in the village.
Oh my... What?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So, not long later, the dispensary was demolished.
Burn it!
And then it was moved to the more populous area of Ofu Village on the other side of the island. And allegedly, I couldn't find it on Google Maps, but you know how Google Maps is, it's not the perfect documentation. You can still see the remains of the old pharmacy, bits of it, not much.
Oh, okay.
To this day. So, this took place in 1923, 1924.
Yeah.
In all that time since, the beach is still abandoned. There is no one there. People just, the belief of the haunting is so strong that people don't want to be there, despite, as she can attest from the picture I showed her, it's one of the most beautiful beaches I've ever seen in my life.
This is incredibly difficult for me to even stay away.
I want to go there.
I'm looking at it right now, and I'm saying, I don't know. If, let's just say we ever get into some trouble, and we're like,
let's
it's either a lifetime in jail or we risk it and go on this island. I'm going to go ahead and risk it.
So even to this day, people of the island still say not to travel that area at night or high noon.
So even the road that they built?
People still travel it, but they make sure not to do it at night or at high noon. So it's like a morning, afternoon kind of thing.
That's so specific.
And it's kind of the only way to get from the big cities of each island. So they have to travel that area, but they're very specific about when they do it.
I guess it's kind of like, if you really want to think about it, it's like you really have to arrange your schedule the same way you do with traffic, except this way it's like with spirits. You're like, I really don't want to hit the spirits. I want to get them on the off times.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Ugh, that's creepy.
So I'm not going to lie. I've always been interested in visiting American Samoa. I want to see all the islands. These are two of the smaller islands. These don't even have close to the most populous areas, but I'd like to see them all because you just travel between them.
I think either way, it would be a beautiful area.
I think I would absolutely be willing to go to this beach and walk the creepy area.
It's so hard to get you to like haunted places, but this place is so gorgeous.
Because so far, and I still need to research more on the Aitu, I don't believe there's any stories of Aitu latching onto people and following them. So,
that is a big thing.
If you believe that these exist, and let's say there are malevolent spirits there, they might just be haunting to you, but I don't think you would take them.
So what about those nurses? I mean, they were there.
Allegedly, they were there leading headless people.
And they were just dancing around, too?
Yeah, and it just made me realize how terrible people were at recording stories back then, because I have like 800 questions, and they didn't answer a single one in this.
Here's the thing. People are terrible recording things today with their phones, as we've discovered.
It's
so
true.
Either way, it doesn't surprise me. I'll say that.
And I think we can also establish that at least on the culture within these two islands, people not having their heads is kind of a big deal.
That is so creepy. So is there any
history to that?
Right.
Well, let me tell you a little bit of the history of the area.
Yay! Okay.
So I don't have too much here, but I thought that this was particularly relevant because even though that area is uninhabited, there is a lot of activity that occurs there, and it's not from locals.
Okay.
It's from archaeologists.
So they report that stuff.
American archaeologists are heavy into this area. The beaches of Ofu is one of the most excavated areas in the Polynesian island area.
What? Okay.
So, as I mentioned, the area in the following years has become a source of considerable archaeological research. Digs and excavations have brought about remains and artifacts that date back considerably. An article released in 1990 issue of Archaeology in Oceania suggests that some of these artifacts could be up to 3,700 years before present. A contrasting article published in 2019, which discussed interpretive issues with carbon-14 dating due to the cycles of, quote, nearshore marine and estuarian environments, end quote. Their model suggested that the dates are more likely around 2,780-ish before present. That's a really long time ago.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an insanely long time ago. I mean, these are pre-biblical. I mean, these are going back to biblical times and before that, ancient Greece, ancient. I mean, this is pretty amazing.
No, for sure. Yeah.
But either way, both papers agree and show continual habitation on this island since. Meaning this island, this 5 mile square 2-island chain, and there's another small island off to the side, has had people living there for thousands of years continually.
That's amazing.
And they found everything from ceramics, human-made tools, human remains, and animal bones. And many of the bones found were for birds or other animals that no longer exist on the island. Well, they were some of them were animals that we do know exist, but they don't exist on the island anymore.
Oh, okay.
And some seem to be from species that are extinct on the planet. We don't know specifically when they became extinct, but we found the remains in a lot of places.
Question, like the ones that are extinct specifically, were they extinct that were apparently only are found on the island, or they're like, oh, these are found in other parts of the
I couldn't find information
planet,
about.
but they're extinct.
I couldn't find any information on specific animals that were only found on this island. They were either extinct and existed in a lot of places.
My guess is it probably did exist in other places, but I get curious. Yeah.
And one of the other things that is really important to note is that they've been able to, with the kinds of animal remains and tools that they found, they've been able to prove that the whole environment of the islands has been changed by humans. That the islands as they exist now are completely different than when the islands came to it. And it was not 100%, but significantly influenced by the humans living there. Kind of like how Easter Island is considered a completely different island now because of what humans have done to it.
That's pretty.
So the reason I thought this was relevant, the whole reason I'm giving that small little history lesson out there, and me and Lily, for those of you that don't know, we're obsessed with archaeology and anthropology. It's what we studied considerably in college.
Hence why half my research yesterday was some of the folklore, but was mostly learning about this new culture. I'm like, ooh, tell me more. And and then I ended up in Africa, of course, as you do. As you do in anthropology.
As you do. You usually end up somewhere in Africa.
You end up
it's
back.
Just kind of the
you
way
just
it
gotta
works.
go back. Anyway.
But the reason I think that this is so relevant is, the most shocking thing to me originally was how could these two small islands devote such a massive amount of their land to something haunted? You'd think that they would just be like, we have to deal with it because, we don't have much space. But 3,000 years, that's a lot of history.
That's so impressive to me. It just makes me now obsessed. I'm going to have to Google drop myself onto this island as soon as this is over.
There's one road.
And then I will, yeah.
But I mean, 3,000 years, that's a lot of dead ancestors. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of stories. That's a lot of history. And if we are to accept and believe that ghosts exist, if you want to go that route, because you know me, I'm a skeptic, but if we're going to play that ghosts and whatnot do exist, we always talk about how in Europe it's always in places that are so ancient that have had so many people living there, the oldest buildings, the oldest thing. Yeah. Well, this is, 3,000-ish years of human history on such a small area. That's a lot of
from
history.
What we know.
It might just be a beach, and we're used to seeing like an old house that's been around for 300 years. Well, this beach has been around a lot longer, and people have been on it a really long time.
Right.
So there's probably a lot going on there, and you're not going to find. I mean, the fact that they're finding remains and artifacts is incredible, considering that environments like this with so much water and erosion and everything like this, most remains would be wiped away pretty regularly. So this is pretty impressive. So the reason I actually got pulled to this was because there's active archaeology going on in the area.
That is so cool.
Oh, that was pretty neat. So apparently there's a haunted strip of forest on the most beautiful beach you've ever seen.
If there's a way for me to run across, like if there's a clearer path, I'm willing to risk it. I'm like, from the road to the beach, it's such a short physical distance,
Absolutely.
But not so much a physical ability to run through, I should say.
Yeah, and unfortunately, since there's no pharmacy there now, I don't know where I'm supposed to get my sunblock, but
you bring it with you.
I'll just burn like a crisp.
Yeah, it's worth it. How beautiful this looks, totally worth it.
Totally worth it.
Cool. But so is that the end of your...
Not quite. Today's special, I have a bonus super tiny story. Because while I was researching tropical terrors, I spent a lot of time looking into Hawaii, only because a friend of ours is talking about possibly having her wedding in Hawaii, so we know at some point in the future we may go there. And so I was like, well, let's see all the cool stuff we could see, which obviously meant haunted locations.
Obviously.
So, all right, so once again, repeating that I'm not very good at pronouncing some of these words. I'm going to do my best. So this is Ghosts of Hamaku'apoko. It's an old abandoned high school in Maui.
Ooh. I love some abandoned buildings.
Who doesn't? Yeah. And it's allegedly haunted by spirits dating back to its missionary and sugarcane plantation days. So before it was even a high school.
Okay.
So today, most of this high school has been torn down, but there are still things that remain in the area, and it's quite gorgeous and a little bit terrifying.
I see pictures.
I'm going to show her the pictures. Okay, I will hopefully have some sort of picture on our social media.
Ooh, it's very pretty.
Yeah. But you can see how it's just a husk of what it used to be. Just a husk.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's old world, though.
It's very old world, yeah.
So it was, this high school was built in 1913, but eventually the high school was relocated in 1972. So, that means it had like 60-ish years of functioning. For a short time after, it was turned into a rehab center, which,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the minute your property gets redefined for something like that, you're like, okay, the horror story's going to be on. You see a rehab center, a mental hospital, place to treat leprosy. These are all where you like throw people who are dying. Yes. Exactly. But in the years that followed that, it has just fallen into ruins. And even at one point after it had been abandoned, a giant fire ran through and destroyed a considerable portion of it, particularly the administration building.
Of course.
So could this have been arson? Probably. But could it also have been sinister? Maybe.
I'm choosing sinister.
So, according to my readings, it's a pretty strong belief in Hawaii that the souls and spirits of the departed will return to familiar areas from their life, which includes areas that may now be abandoned.
That's not a bad theory. I mean, that's a common one.
Yeah, so this high school, the idea is that all these people who are now, who went to high school in 1913 or whatnot, was it, if they pass away, they might, maliciously or not, is irrelevant. They might, want to go back to their high school days, and boom, they're in this abandoned area in Maui.
I've known a few people where I think that's where they'd end up back. Be like,
we have a few friends
had a really good time. Why not? Let's do this. Have a party.
High school was awesome. Rock on.
If I end up there, then I know I went to the dark place. I'm like, this is where you're taking me back right now.
People who live in my old college houses will know I'm there because when no one's paying attention,
the good times.
The red Solo cups will start shaking. He's playing beer pong.
Shay's in anticipation to drink your beer.
So the big stories that have occurred for people who visit this area now is something known as choking ghosts.
Okay.
So I was just like, oh, a ghost that chokes you. But apparently, choking ghosts are kind of a recurring thing in a lot of beliefs, but particularly in Hawaii and in other parts of Polynesian folklore, the idea that there are ghosts that are choking you. And sometimes it's when you're sleeping, sometimes it's when you're just there.
We're going back to the Boo Hag here.
Yeah, it's choking.
I don't know. This whole unable to breathe thing is very common.
But this doesn't seem to be something on your chest. It's not riding you dirty. This is supposed to be
now I know where that song comes from.
But they do say sometimes people describe the choking ghost, I guess they do say, as a feeling of being crushed. So maybe they are being
I told you.
By a Boo Hag.
Boo Hags, man, they're at it.
Now there are some stories with absolutely no background facts or information, just some people are saying this, that the choking ghosts have a habit of attacking people who either were ditchers, people who played hooky back in the day, or teenagers who are currently ditching and go there during the day as kind of like a fun thing to do when you're ditching class.
Okay.
So apparently it's stronger for people who have either a history of or are currently actively ditching. That sounds like a good story that parents or teachers would tell students, like, you might get choked out by a ghost.
Jeez. I ditch a class and I get choked? Jeez. I don't think that fits the crime, but fine.
Right? And then the other commonly reported haunting at this school is allegedly there's this old boarded up restroom and you can hear a girl crying inside.
Okay.
No one's elaborating more than that.
Are you sure it's not me? Because that happened.
Well, I immediately pictured that tiny little girl from Harry Potter. I mean, I'm not super familiar with Harry Potter, but I know a lot of you listening are. Myrtle, I think was her name.
I don't remember. I read the first two books.
She was the ghost that was very sad, and then she ended up helping them out, right?
Yeah.
But I immediately pictured her exact voice, the actress.
Olivia just completely wanting to choke us. I know.
How do you not know? Yeah, but I pictured that girl and that voice because of Harry Potter. But that girl, she also did a character in Doctor Who.
Oh, yes.
She was one of the investigators.
It was like the episode that he wasn't even really in.
Yeah, where they all get absorbed into the Absorbalov thing.
Into the concrete.
Yeah, in her case.
Yeah.
But I do think if I heard a girl crying outside of in ruins, I would be creeped out. But I also would be like, we got to find this girl and help her out. Because what if it's like a little girl who just got lost here?
Right. I think your mind is more realistic,
At first it might be fear, but at second it's like, but if I go home because I'm scared, there could be a little girl who dies there.
I think if it's at night, I'd be more scared. But if it's during the day, I'd be like, wow, there's someone crying. Maybe they need our help. I don't know.
Exactly. But that one seems to be, I can't tell if that one's just regularly reported by something that people experience, or if just the few stories that come out of this high school, that one is just repeated. Like it was told once and it keeps getting repeated.
And then everyone keeps
everyone
passing down that.
Exactly. So allegedly that seems to be
Classic.
the only thing that happens there. I read a blog from some people who do paranormal investigation, like amateur. You're not talking the stuff that's on TV. Amateur paranormal investigation. They do a lot of stuff in Hawaii because I think they're based out of Hawaii, but they've done stuff throughout the U.S.
That's cool.
They went to a lot of sites, and when they went to this place at night, they didn't feel anything. So they think it feels fine.
Okay.
And when
I already like them. They're not faking anything. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
I just feel like they're there to really figure it out.
They didn't feel much in most of their places in Hawaii. They started feeling stuff in, funny that you mentioned the Boo Hag, it was like South Carolina. Not
It
joking.
was not!
Yeah, they did some in Alabama and like South Carolina. They hit a couple things. But, and hopefully I'll post a picture. Maybe it'll be in our preview image or something to show you what this high school looks like. But it's actually, the ruins are quite gorgeous. I could imagine walking through these.
It looks amazing.
At sunset and really enjoying it. So
Not at high noon, though.
I mean, how cool are these tropical terrors? Because we're talking about places that are paradise for many of us, including me. You know, I grew up in the desert, so being near water is already a plus. But we're talking beautiful, lush green areas, islands, and all those cliches of that tropical music that isn't actually played everywhere there, except for tourist locations. But in my mind, it's there.
And it's probably where we'll end up.
No, exactly. So, but it's pretty fun. Like, this is totally one of those sites I have to see if we're ever in Hawaii.
We absolutely will.
So, all right. So that's the end of the bonus story. I had 2 for you today. They're short, and they're not grounded in facts and data like my UFO stories. But I think every now and then we need to experience some horror in a beach-like atmosphere.
In a beautiful area.
right?
Versus mine are like in swamps or in this dilapidated building. But whatever.
And our name things like Booby Hag.
Boo Hag. Hey, you had choking ghosts in your story.
But they're not called.
I don't want to hear
They're
it.
not called like the choke on this ghost or something.
Oh, but they're called a choking ghost.
That's just what they do. It's their job, not their name.
And the Boo Hag booze.
So that's what I got for today. 2. Count it. 2 tropical terrors. Just imagine little tiki guy eating stuff.
You know, it was a lot easier to imagine when your hands were actually up in the air in claw form. You're like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah."
Yeah, you couldn't see it at home, but trust me, it looked fierce.
I was very scared. Very scared. Oh, man.
So those are the stories we have for you today, guys. We are so glad you tuned in, and I'm really excited about next episode because we're going to bring in all the Christmas horror stories.
Yay!
And start getting ready.
Oh, I got one for you.
Yeah, we gotta hit Christmas hard this year because our Christmas last year we were a bit fish out of water. We did a beachy themed tropical Christmas in England with their good friends Lisa and Jacob, and it was an absolute blast. But it definitely felt atypical to Christmas
For sure.
And we're kind of excited to be home near family,
Near,
and,
but not quite there.
yeah, with our tree set up and doing all that stuff. So
Yeah.
now we're gonna jump into all the scary stuff. We're talking presents filled with dead bodies. I don't know if that's true. I just think of
You
stuff
are
that's
you are
creepy.
putting out teasers that I can't
So that
can't
might
fulfill.
not happen, but just think about it because it's scary.
Just be scared.
But just so you guys know, if this is your first episode listening, we are streaming on a lot of platforms. We've got Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Captivate RSS feed, and we also do YouTube as well. The YouTube sometimes is a couple hours later than the others because upload's just a little slower, but it's still just as good to listen to. I totally dig listening to podcasts on YouTube myself. So,
Yes.
do you have anything else to say to our loyal listeners?
I do, actually. Yes, we have an email address, hotwpodcast@gmail.com. If you guys have any stories that you want us to share or, like anything that happened to you, maybe we'll put that at the end of an episode.
Or if you're desperate to hear us ruin any of your favorite kinds of stories.
Yeah, if you're
just
like,
tell us.
wow, I really want to hear about Bigfoot. You know what? 2 people can do it? These guys.
It'll be awful. It'll be great. Yeah, no, just let us know.
Which Bigfoot will happen at some point. Not right now, not tomorrow, not in the next few weeks. But I have a plan for it.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be rolling my eyes the whole
Entire
episode.
time. And then I will definitely dazzle you with my storytelling. So don't worry, you'll still be enchanted. For sure.
Absolutely.
So yes, that is the end of our episode.
Episode 7, done.
The most epic number 7 episode done.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, it's so much better than our other episode 7s that you'll never hear.
Yeah, it's like the only 7 we'll have.
Exactly.
What about 17?
Well, but that's 1 7. That's different.
That's not the 7.
They're not the same.
It's like second 7.
Yeah, it's second 7.
Ew.
For some reason, I'm feeling we're going to make it a thing. Every time 7 is on our
Every
name,
time
it's gonna be a
7
big
out,
deal.
it's...
And if we ever make it to episode 70, if we ever make it to the 70s, that's going to be a rough 10 episodes.
700 will be how old? Wow, I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, I think the world's going to end before we make it to 700.
I'm so optimistic. Anyway, that is the end of our episode, and I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had some drinks, and like we always say, that the best cure for a hangover is fear. And also,
Can't find a party, make a party.
bye guys.
Later.